The committee will come back to order.
The Honorable Joe Lombardo, Governor of the State of Nevada, is at the bar of the Assembly.
The appointed committee will escort Governor Lombardo to the Chief Clerk's rostrum and his family to seats in the Assembly chamber. Please rise. Please be seated. Governor Lombardo, we welcome you to the Assembly chamber and we look forward to your message.
Well, thank you. Speaker Yeager, thank you. Majority Leader Canizero and Baby, Lieutenant Governor Anthony, members of the Senate and Assembly, Honorable Justice of the Supreme Court, constitutional officers, Congressman Amedee, thank you, sir. Distinguished guests, my fellow Nevadans, good evening. Before I go any further, we all know families are the bedrock of our society, and I want to recognize my family, First Lady Donna Lombardo, and our daughters Morgan and Lacey. Unfortunately, Morgan couldn't be here tonight, but I'd like to introduce you to my one-year-old grandson, Teddy. To my family, without your support, none of this would have been possible. Please give them a warm welcome. I'd like to acknowledge each of your families. We all understand the sacrifices they make so that we can be here. Their service to our state is no less significant than ours. My sincerest thanks to your families. We are here tonight to begin the building upon the stewardship of those elected officials who came before us. I would like to pause to remember some Nevada leaders who have gifted us their legacy. Congressman and State Senator Jim Bilbray, Supreme Court Justice and Lieutenant Governor Bob Rose, Assemblyman and County Commissioner David Humke, Assemblywoman Jane Ham, Assemblywoman and County Commissioner Myrna Williams, and State Senator Spike Wilson. And a special remembrance of a Nevadan who served in the Assembly 54 years ago, albeit for only one term, but a man, whether you agreed with him or not, never stopped fighting for Nevada all the way to the top. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Join me for a moment of reflection as we extend our thoughts and prayers to the Reid family and the families of those whose generous contributions to our state will be remembered. As a military veteran, I want to salute the men and women serving in our military around the globe. We should all be proud of the fact that Nevada has National Guard members stationed in numerous foreign countries. As we sit here this evening, our Adjutant General, Andra Berry, is in Romania visiting the Nevada Army National Guard 137th Military Police Detachment. Our military families serve our nation, and tonight we honor them. And we honor their spouses and children whose sacrifices help to keep us safe. On behalf of a profoundly grateful state, we appreciate all they do to defend our liberties. Our veterans deserve nothing less than our best efforts. Yes. I'd like to recognize a veteran serving in my administration, my budget director, Amy Stevenson. Amy, where are you? Oh, there she is. Amy is a disabled U.S. Navy veteran who has worked for Nevada for more than 20 years in numerous departments. Please help me thank Amy for her service to the state and to the nation. Thank you, Amy. Uh-oh. It looks like it's Teddy's bedtime. Oh, that's disappointing. Earlier this month, I said in my inaugural address, our Nevada history teaches us to persevere, while others settle for less. Time and again, we have gathered our resolve and doubled our determination when others tell us it can't be done or shouldn't be tried. We instinctively do the opposite. As governor, I am filled with hope and optimism of what we can accomplish if we simply summon the will to work together. It is my intention to work side by side with all of you to write another chapter of Nevada history that will record that we did it the Nevada way. Never give up and never stop dreaming. I'm here to say to you tonight, our state of the state is growing stronger every day. But the pandemic laid bare just how vulnerable our economy is. And in an unexpected twist of fate, the pandemic also created, for the first time in many years, an unprecedented budget surplus. With this in mind, my remarks will be candid. On one hand, we have exciting opportunities within our grasp, but on the other, we must not allow ourselves to give way to the temptation to overspend. We must remain dedicated to the twin propositions of saving for and guarding against the next unexpected event that shakes our economy and rattles our livelihoods. As a former Nevadan named Samuel Clemens, better known by the pen name Mark Twain, once wrote, quote, "The secret to getting ahead is getting started," end quote. My fellow Nevadans, let's get started. My executive budget not only lowers the tax burden on working families and businesses, but it also reserves more than $1 in savings for every new dollar in general fund spending. You can clap. It bears repeating. We will reserve more than $1 in savings for every new dollar in general fund spending. The executive budget reverses cuts to some programs made during the pandemic and addresses long overdue investments in people, programs, and facilities, but it does so responsibly. Not a penny of the state's one-time surplus will be used to fund any reoccurring programs. For example, by using one-time money to fund $412 million in deferred maintenance and planning costs, taxpayers get safer, more efficient, and more functional state buildings. My budget also saves taxpayers over $260 million in interest payments on bonds, enabling us to, among other things, create more construction jobs in future years. In simple economic terms, we're buying with cash instead of credit. Today, the government has more money than we can responsibly spend. Households and businesses most certainly do not. Look around. Everything is more expensive these days: groceries, supplies, and services. Nowhere is this more evident than at the pump. The price of gasoline in Nevada has averaged more than $4 per gallon in the past year, nearly $1 higher than the national average. I'm proud to announce my executive budget suspends the state motor vehicle fuel tax for the next 12 months. Immediately reducing the price of gasoline and saving consumers and businesses approximately $250 million. In terms of a family of four, that translates to hundreds of dollars a year in savings. Working with local gas station operators, the petroleum industry, and the Attorney General's Consumer Affairs Division, we will make certain that these savings exclusively benefit taxpayers. Using our budget surplus to provide tax relief won't negatively affect our fuel tax-funded road and construction program or impair bonds. We must always remain mindful that our financial surplus comes from the pocket of our constituents. There you go. Yes. As such, we will not stop searching for additional ways to return money to the taxpayers. In that same spirit, my budget lowers the modified business tax rate by 15% to 1.17%. Furthermore, my budget raises the exemption for businesses subject to the commerce tax by 50%, from $4 million to $6 million. This represents the first time the commerce tax exemption has been adjusted in favor of the taxpayers ever. These tax reductions ensure that rising prices don't create increased burdens for Nevada businesses. No sunsets, no court decisions, no gimmicks, just plain old-fashioned tax cuts that allow Nevadans to keep more of what they earn. To brace ourselves during the pandemic, we drained the rainy day fund almost immediately. Reserves were not deep enough to stave off cuts to education, health care, public safety, and other critical public services. I regret to say, but Nevada will likely face additional periods of instability. And we won't be able to, nor should we, rely on federal bailouts to fund government. You can clap. I like that one. To protect us in the future, my executive budget increases savings in the rainy day fund from 20% to 30%. And fully funds that account. In other words, we will place another $630 million in the rainy day fund to be used when dark clouds again gather on the horizon. As I said before, fiscal responsibility is the backbone of my budget, and I mean it. Overall, my budget sets aside more than $2 billion in total savings to safeguard against cuts to education and critical programs in the years to come. $2 billion, folks. $2 billion. Included in those savings is $315 million for the Nevada Way Fund, a new sub-account to be used for transformational economic development projects and critical infrastructure needs in areas such as emerging markets in the north and south ends of the Las Vegas Valley, as well as in other emerging markets in Nevada. Approval of the Nevada Way funds will be authorized by the newly formed Nevada Way Leadership Committee, made up of the governor and the bipartisan leadership of the Nevada legislature. The Nevada Way Fund simply reaffirms that we never stop dreaming and that we are fully prepared to act on those times when market opportunity and new capital merge. In matters of our children's education, I think the best politics is no politics. Let's agree to set aside politics and turf guarding to deal with the stubborn facts regarding public education in Nevada. Nevada's public schools have been historically underfunded and have historically underperformed for our children. Both of those facts must change. Tonight, I'm proposing the single largest investment in K-12 education and raising the bar on expectations and accountability to the level not yet seen in Nevada. My budget contains $2 billion in new funding for our students. That's an increase of more than 22% from what was appropriated in the current biennium. That's $2 billion new dollars for literacy, for instruction, for our children. Perhaps most groundbreaking is the commitment to equity. When the pupil-centered funding plan was created, equity was built into the formula through the weights for English language learners, at-risk students, and gifted and talented learners. I'm exceedingly proud to announce that my budget fully funds the targeted weights in the pupil-centered funding plan, streamlining those dollars to the classrooms and students who need it most. When all is said and done, my budget proposes spending more than $2,000 per student more next year. After years of celebrating $100 here and there, this investment is truly historic. Here's the tough part. Along with this funding, I expect results. I won't accept the lack of funding as an excuse for underperformance. I'll be working with the state superintendent to ensure our system of accountability and transparency are robust and enforced. And if we don't begin seeing results, I'll be standing here in 2 years calling for a systematic change in the governance and leadership in K-12 education. Every Nevada child has the right to a quality education and should be college or career ready by the time they graduate high school. Traditional public schools are not and should not be the only option. Private schools, magnet schools, charter schools, micro schools, virtual schools, and homeschooling are all viable alternatives. That can increase the potential for student success. My goal after we finish this legislative session is to give Nevada parents significantly more choice to make about their child's education. I will be submitting legislation to create the Office of School Choice within the Department of Education to ensure students and their parents have the information they need to evaluate every available option, and that all education providers are held to similar standards. Nevada's pupil-centered funding plan is built on the idea that education dollars should consider the needs of students and should follow them no matter what school they attend. For the first time, parents will have an advocate inside government promoting the expansion of school choice in Nevada. I look forward to working with Senator Heidi Gansert on expanding opportunity scholarships. She's been a strong and effective voice on this central component of school choice, and due to her leadership and others, I fully expect opportunity scholarships to receive a record amount of funding this session. In total, my executive budget puts more money in public K-12 schools and introduces more student and parental choices than any budget in Nevada history. Teachers deserve a safe and stable educational environment where they can teach and students can learn. For the first time in Nevada history, we will allocate over $730 million to the Education Stabilization Account, which is a rainy day fund solely dedicated for K-12. Interest from this account will be innovatively used to provide scholarships to Nevada high school graduates who attend Nevada colleges or universities and who are willing to teach in Nevada schools for at least 5 years. Additionally, career and technical academies, signature academies, and career and technical education programs should be used to increase the pipeline of qualified teachers. And to further address the immediate shortage, we should allow retired educators to draw both their retirement and salary with no strings attached and no unnecessary administrative hurdles to clear. To help keep the teacher pipeline full, my budget includes funding for the Teacher Nevada Scholarship Program, which provides $30 million in stipends and tuition for student teachers. Come on. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Children who do not learn or read proficiently in elementary school have a lower chance of graduating high school and a much higher chance of facing difficult life circumstances and creating a cost burden to the state. Governor Sandoval, where are you? Where is Governor Sandoval? There he is. Thank you. Governor Sandoval championed Nevada's Read by 3 law in 2015. The law was amended in 2019 and removed a requirement that students failing to meet proficiency standards in the 3rd grade be held back until those standards are met. We need to reinstate adequate accountability. Therefore, I will be imposing a new 5-year rule. Schools have 5 years to improve literacy scores and to ensure that students who are not proficient in reading do not advance beyond the 3rd grade until they are brought up to grade level. There's a second issue affecting our students' literacy scores. Far too many students are already behind before they ever attend their first day of kindergarten. My budget appropriates $60 million to continue and expand pre-K opportunities. The Department of Education will be charged with implementing core pre-K programs, measuring results, and providing policy recommendations for a long-term strategy to ensure more students are ready for school when they get to school. In 2019, the legislature passed AB 168, commonly referred to the Public School Restorative Justice Law. While well-intended, this law has led to instances of disruptive and dangerous situations in schools across the state. It handcuffs school teachers and administrators, leaving them powerless to address habitually misbehaving and all too often violent students. This is unacceptable on several levels, most notably creating an unsafe environment for teachers and other students in the classroom. To be clear, every child should be given the opportunity to stay in school. But there are objective limits, and there should be no issue with temporary removal of a disruptive student resulting in an immediate meeting with parents or guardians. If classroom disruptions continue, the student will be expelled. We have two Nevada educators from Las Vegas and Sparks among us, who both recently experienced physical assault in their classrooms. They are here tonight in an act of advocacy for their fellow educators and to help emphasize the need for new safety and security protections in our school system. Thank you. These teachers and other teachers just like them deserve our trust and admiration. To those of us in this room and to those listening and watching, let's show these teachers how much respect and support we have for them. Thank you. Thank you for that. We don't need any more examples of school violence. We've seen enough. It's time to act and repeal the most onerous sections of this law, and in their place create structure that works for educators, parents, and students. Higher education plays such an important role in the economic health of our state. Among the stiffest barriers to attracting new businesses and retaining existing businesses is having a workforce that meets the needs of business. To overcome this challenge, my budget restores INCHE's operating budget to pre-pandemic levels and sets aside $5 million to pay for a study of the higher education funding formula. He probably won't smile after this. Part of that funding study will require increased transparency and accountability for higher education institutions, including their self-supported budgets. It's been more than a decade since this formula was updated, and it's time for a new formula to reflect the current state of our system. We will also increase funding for workforce innovation to better respond to the needs of various organizations for workforce training. Invest $75 million for the long-term stability of the state's Millennium Scholarship Program. Invest $65 million in deferred maintenance for aging buildings. Put $20 million more in graduate student stipends and to support research at our system institutions. Nobody clap for fixing the buildings? It's not sexy, right? Add $9 million to build up the faculty at UNLV Medical School so that we can accommodate more medical students. And appropriate $6 million to continue for the state to support 4 Promise scholarships for Nevada high school graduates attending our community colleges. There may be no more dysfunctional part of state government than in the services provided to our workforce. Delays, fraud, and system failures have become commonplace. To fix it, I'm proposing that we can consolidate these services under a single Office of Workforce. The office will develop and execute an integrated plan and will oversee the 17 revenue streams sourced to the Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. Right now, we have 5 state agencies, the university system, and local governments administering over $200 million workforce dollars. They are not aligned, much less coordinated. Right now, we largely ignore the vital connections between our workforce programs, our public schools, and our colleges and universities. They must function as a single integrated system. Right now, we have a state workforce plan that ignores the diversity of regional economies. We have duplication of efforts between nonprofits and state agencies. We don't make it easy to access programs to help would-be workers with transportation or childcare because that's in a different department. Right now, we are wasting money, but more importantly, we are wasting time in getting all Nevadans the job opportunities they deserve. The Office of Workforce can be the solution to this dysfunction. As a lifetime crime fighter, I can say there is arguably nothing more important to the 3.2 million Nevadans in our state than public safety. AB 236 from the 2019 legislature introduced sweeping reforms on our criminal justice system. At the time, some changes I agreed with and some I didn't, but in the spirit of compromise, I did not oppose the bill. 3 years have gone by, and we can clearly see that some of those changes didn't produce the outcomes some were predicting. In fact, they made things worse. To correct these problem areas, I will be introducing legislation that makes it harder, not easier, to commit a crime in the state of Nevada. My bill will include holding career criminals accountable by strengthening the habitual enhancement for those offenders who repeatedly victimize the community, strengthening the definition of domestic battery by strangulation, protecting businesses by lowering the felony theft threshold, empowering judges and probation officers to impose tougher sanctions to, let me start over there. Empowering judges and probation officers to impose tougher sanctions for parole violators. Disallowing diversion for crimes against children and the elderly. Strengthening drug laws by reducing weights for possession and trafficking while increasing penalties. Fighting the fentanyl epidemic. Fentanyl, possession in any amount, should be a Category B felony. Addressing these problem areas will have an immediate effect on reducing crime and helps ensure the effectiveness of our public safety and criminal justice systems. If we look a little closer, there are clear disparities in Nevada public safety compensation structure, and it's unfair. To address this, we should make every effort to retrain our public safety personnel. Therefore, I'm proposing, you can clap. Therefore, I'm proposing a 2-grade increase for all public safety employees above what is recommended for all public employees to help bring them closer to parity with local agencies. And to ensure we are no longer the training ground for local government police forces. We all know too well that crime is often the result of poor decisions and circumstances. Incarceration should be the last resort. However, jails and prisons are all too often places where we house those we have failed to educate, failed to treat, or otherwise failed to get them the help they need. We are seeing the effect of this in our streets in the form of increased homelessness. We are seeing it in our schools where young people without access to treatment are acting out. And we are seeing it in our economy where the safety of our employees and customers is paramount. We will make sure government does its part by increasing reimbursement rates in the area of acute need, especially in mental health services. My budget includes an enhancement in Medicaid to expand community behavioral health centers. This $17 million expansion will add up to 6 clinics across the state in underserved areas, including northern and rural Nevada. Ensuring more mental health services are available to anyone in need, regardless of their ability to pay. The need for forensic mental health services is also critical. It's an area that has been neglected. My budget includes funding to convert a portion of the City of Las Vegas jail into a forensic hospital, to build out a pod at the Ross and Neal Hospital for forensic services, and money for a brand new ground-up forensic hospital in southern Nevada. I look forward to working with the legislature to fund these projects. Nicole. Let's talk about another issue that we must deal with candidly. The right to vote is one of the most fundamental rights in American society. It is not only important that the process itself has integrity, but also that the people of Nevada have confidence that the process is free and fair. With that said, there are certain election reforms that are just common sense. Most notably, all mail-in ballots should be received by the time polls close on Election Day. As opposed to 5 p.m. 4 days following an election. I'm sorry. Cisco gave me a dirty look. This puts Nevada back in line with national norms and ensures our election reporting does not drag on for days when the balance of the nation has moved on. Second, Nevada created universal mail-in ballots as a response to COVID. With the pandemic behind us, this expensive process is simply unnecessary. Anyone who wants or needs a mail-in ballot should have every right to request and receive one. However, Sending ballots to more than 1.9 million registered voters is inefficient and unnecessary. Not to mention, it's estimated to cost nearly $7 million in this budget and will increase to over $11 million in future budgets. Third, it is important to verify the identity of voters. Signature verification is a time-intensive and cumbersome process. We require people to have a valid form of identification to get on a plane, to operate a motor vehicle, or to purchase alcohol and cigarettes, etc. But not to cast a vote in an election. This is illogical. Fourth, unregulated ballot harvesting needs to be addressed. To be clear, harvesting ballots was a felony prior to the pandemic, and now it's common campaign practice. If we are going to allow someone other than the voter or an immediate family member to cast their vote in an election, that person should be clearly identified and have some reasonable limitations and reporting requirements imposed upon them. Finally, Nevada needs to end partisan redistricting. Nevada voters should have the right to select their elected leaders, not the other way around. We need an independent, nonpartisan commission that is subject to the open meeting law to redraw districts every 10 years. It's time we do this. Mark my words, if the legislature can't make meaningful progress in this critical area, these reforms should be placed before the voters during the next election. Turning our attention to our state employees, we have prided ourselves on having a small and efficient state government. In fact, the most recent U.S. Census on governments ranks Nevada second to last in terms of state employees per 1,000 residents. No, don't applaud for that. The sole purpose of state government is to serve the people of Nevada. But this can't be done effectively when we have state job vacancy above 20%, a remote and disconnected workforce, and outdated computer systems. Which is why one of the first things I did upon taking my oath was to issue an executive order requiring all state employees to return to pre-pandemic office hours by July 1st. The truth is, we ask our state employees to do their jobs, but we're not paying fair wages for a fair day's work. They deserve better. My budget includes an 8% increase for all state workers next year and an additional 4% increase the year after. The last time state employees received even a 5% increase was 1995. And the last time they received anything in excess of 5% was 1985. The increases included in my budget are a major first step in sustainable pathway increasing state employee pay to where it deserves to be. Moreover, retention of our existing employees is also critical. As such, my budget includes $2,000 annual bonuses for every executive branch state employee to be paid quarterly. They shouldn't have to wait until July 1st, though. I've included money to pay out those $500 quarterly bonuses starting this fiscal year. And I'm asking the legislature to pass a supplemental appropriation as one of its first bills to fund these bonuses starting at the end of March. State employees also deserve a safe and pleasant working environment. Of the last 3 major state office buildings constructed, one has been torn down, the other is getting a roof replaced, and the Grant Sawyer building needs major rehabilitation. My capital improvement budget includes funding for refurbishment of existing buildings and money for 3 new state office buildings so our employees can provide services to our constituents in a safe and stable workspace. A top priority of my administration will be to restore Nevada's reputation as a pro-business, pro-development state. I think we can all agree Nevada should be the most entrepreneurial-friendly state in the nation. Unfortunately, we've lost ground in this area, and it's our job to inform the world Nevada has reopened for business. Our best opportunities for economic growth are providing a pro-business environment for the 350,000 businesses that currently call Nevada home, and offering a pro-development invitation for the expansion of new businesses and industry. Whether it's closing the lithium loop, unlocking innovation and investments in logistics, entertainment, science and technology, or embracing entrepreneurship, the message is that Nevada is ready to partner. Case in point, I'm looking forward to joining Elon Musk and the team of Tesla tomorrow when they unveil plans to build a brand new $3.5 billion advanced manufacturing facility in northern Nevada for the company's all-electric semi-trucks. Economic development matters. I'm proud to declare that Nevada is back open for business, effective immediately. With that said, proceeds from our economic investments must be responsibly reinvested, and we must ensure they are used to address the transportation, education, housing, and public safety demands created by our continued growth. Tax dollars should rightly follow the demand for services, regardless of political boundaries. I am asking the legislature to work with me to ensure that as expiring tax abatements become new tax dollars, those incremental funds are directed to the communities most impacted by our state's growth. Finally, we all know Southern Nevada has long been the entertainment capital of the world and has become the mecca for professional sports. This November, we welcome yet another spectacular international event from Formula One racing, the inaugural Las Vegas Grand Prix. Please make welcome Stefano Domenicali, who is the CEO of Formula One, who traveled from Italy to be with us tonight. And I'm looking to see if he'll let me drive one of those things. And Renee Whelm, the CEO and president of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're excited to have you with us in Carson City and to have the Race of Races take place in Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you. Speaking of hospitality and gaming, concerns have surfaced related to a lack of balance between the gold standard of our gaming regulations and the time required to gain approval from the Gaming Control Board lab for new product. The result is that new products are likely being introduced with more speed outside of Nevada, which directly affects the competitive position of Nevada's gaming operators. We need to work with the control board to ensure the logjam is cleared. Another issue of concern to our number one industry is SB4 from the 2020 special session. That law imposed mandatory COVID daily cleaning and time off requirements in our hotels that are no longer relevant. Personal time off and daily cleaning requirements add to the labor shortages and exceed current CDC guidance. Clearly, much more is known today about the transmission of the virus than what existed when the legislation was passed in 2020. Yet our hotel operators' hands are tied by this burdensome legacy law, and it should be repealed. Let's make it one of the first bipartisan things we get done this session. One more issue from last session that warrants straight talk. The public option was passed in 2021, but won't be implemented until 2026. I've said it before, passing laws that don't have any practical effect is political theater. Serious questions will remain about the rush implementation of the public option, agency amendments to the statute, and lack of transparency. Getting Nevada's insured is the goal. At a minimum, this law needs to be substantially revised, or better yet, repealed, so we can refocus on the real problem, which is getting eligible but uninsured Nevadans the coverage they need. I'll call your attention to another area of challenge and opportunity: energy. California does not have enough electric generation within its own state to meet its electricity needs, and is now relying on the broader Western electric market to import energy. With California retiring its units and changing its transmission rules, we have no choice but to reduce our reliance on the market and seek independence for all Nevadas. To address this, I will issue an executive order that allows electric providers to develop dedicated in-state generation resources to ensure that we are no longer forced to rely on the broader electric market. Our energy independence will spur economic development, lead to job creation, and drive lower cost energy for all Nevadans. Our greatest challenge over the next decade may very well be water. Dealing with it will require partisanship and leadership. Partnership. Did I say partisanship? Sorry. Partnership. The Colorado River is, there you go. The Colorado River is in the midst of a 22-year drought, and Lake Mead is at its lowest level since 1937. Southern Nevada's unique ability to capture, treat, and return water to the Colorado River is a clear competitive advantage, but our future is dependent upon our ability to conserve and prioritize our use of water. It is also dependent on our ability to work with the 7 basin states and Mexico to deal with the short and long-term water resource solutions. Nevada must lead by example and demonstrate our firm resolve to achieve a new balance on the river. Going forward, I will be more involved, along with Nevada's best water experts, in future negotiations with other states, purveyors, and users to bring about necessary change. At the same time, we must apply the same diligence and resolve to protecting Lake Tahoe, so that future generations of Nevadans can enjoy it as much as we have. There is no simple solution to these complicated water challenges, but we must be assured that our neighbors share the same commitment that we ask of ourselves. Yes. Another issue that requires action is the timely release of public lands. Currently, BLM management has jurisdiction of over 48 million acres in Nevada. I would like to see us, in coordination with our congressional delegation, promote a more predictable approach to the timely release of federal lands. The disposition of federally managed lands within and adjacent to city and county boundaries is a critical component to economic development and affordable housing. It has been said that the soul of Nevada can be found in the people and places that make up our rural counties. I'm looking at you. Staying connected to towns like Carlin and Caliente, Gabbs and Gerlach, and Wells and Wadsworth is a top priority of my administration. To make this a reality, I'm very proud to announce tonight we will be making a $400 million investment in broadband to accelerate statewide connectivity. In addition, it's critical that the governor's office be knowledgeable about rural affairs, as well as with the management of natural resources and land management policies. To help with this, I have designated a staff person in my office, Tim Robb. You can clap for Tim. Is Tim here? There he is up there. To work with the Department of Agriculture Director, J.J. Gokachia, and Department of Conservation and Natural Resources Director, James Settlemeyer, to coordinate with Nevada's rural communities so that our rural needs in Nevada are not overlooked. Understanding rural Nevada goes hand in hand with understanding Nevada's mining industry. For most of the last century, the mining industry has enjoyed a productive partnership with most of the Nevada state agencies. Recently, there is a sense that the relationship has migrated away from that. My office will make sure the 5 key state agencies with jurisdiction over mining issues are working in cooperation with the industry. That needs to be a priority. All of us were sent to Carson City to carry out the people's business. It is the purpose of our oath. It remains our duty to keep. The budget priorities I laid out before you tonight are predicated upon a combination of common sense, fiscal discipline, and high-level engagement. In summary, my budget doesn't raise one dime of new taxes. In fact, we cut taxes for households and businesses. Pays down debt. Yeah, you can clap. Saves $1 for every new dollar spent in the general fund. Invest millions in the Nevada Way account. Pays state employees a fairer wage. Offers more school choice. Gives more funding for schools and teachers with stricter accountability. Provides for safer schools. Directs more funding to higher ed and workforce development. re-energizes economic development, returns to sensible criminal justice reform, builds more capacity in mental health services, and restores faith in Nevada elections. These various programs are in keeping with the needs and aspirations I heard from countless Nevadans over the past 2 years. The urgency in their voices was unforgettable to me. I promised them their concerns would not be lost when I got to Carson City. I know we won't let them down. President Dwight Eisenhower said, quote, "The supreme quality of leadership is integrity," end quote. Above all else, my administration will govern with transparency, candor, and integrity. That's my solemn commitment to you. As I said before, I believe the best of our history lies before us. Our capacity to achieve great deeds will never be in question because we will follow the Nevada way. Never give up, never give in, and never stop dreaming. Ladies and gentlemen, I've learned over my lifetime that there is no substitute for disciplined, hard work. There just isn't. I do not fear what lies ahead. Instead, I look forward to the future with great hope and anticipation. I trust that you do as well. In closing, as I think of my 1-year-old grandson, Teddy, and the thousands of new young Nevadans his age in our state, I recall the simple but meaningful words that underscore the significance of the task that lies before us. Let's plant the trees that some of us may never see. God bless you all. God bless Nevada. And God bless America.
Good evening, my fellow Nevadans. My name is Steve Yeager, and I am the Speaker-elect for the Nevada State Assembly and the Assemblyman for District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas. On behalf of legislative Democrats, I have the honor of giving tonight's response to the Governor's State of the State address. Nevada voters recently reaffirmed their trust in Democrats to lead the state legislature. Indeed, in an election cycle that history dictated would be disastrous for Democrats, Democrats in Nevada instead won additional seats in both houses of the legislature. Nevada voters sent a clear message about the issues they care about and the future they want to see for our state. We do not take your trust for granted, and we know that the decisions we make in Carson City matter to your life. Governor Lombardo said that working together is important to him. It is important to us as well. Agree on everything, we won't. Agree on many things, we will. Work hard at finding those areas of agreement, we must. Nevadans want, and indeed deserve, leaders who get things done. So let us all endeavor to solve more problems than we create. Our state song is titled Home Means Nevada. Like you, I am proud to call Nevada my home. But whether home can continue to mean Nevada for many depends upon the actions we take now. Nevadans have the right to a quality public education, a good paying job, clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, affordable health care, public safety, voting in a way that's convenient, and so much more. Legislative Democrats are at the forefront of protecting and expanding all of these rights, not just because it is the right thing to do, but because it is our responsibility as your representatives to do so. Let's start with the economy. Thanks to the work of your legislative Democrats, Nevada has the best economic momentum in the country. We have recovered all the jobs lost due to the pandemic, and then some. Tourism is back at record levels. By many measures, Nevada's economy is booming. But many Nevadans continue to feel the pinch as the cost of healthcare, childcare, housing, and more has increased. While we cannot solve global inflation in Carson City, legislative Democrats have worked hard to lower everyday costs for Nevadans so they can keep more money in their pockets, and we will continue to do so during the upcoming legislative session. It's why we prioritize lowering the cost of prescription drugs, prevented insurance companies from charging people with pre-existing conditions more for coverage, mitigated surprise bills from unexpected hospital visits, and launched a public option insurance program to make coverage more affordable and accessible. In addition, we invested $30 million to expand childcare capacity, increasing the availability of quality, affordable childcare for Nevada's working families. In this session, we intend to expand upon this people-focused and family-centered work, particularly when it comes to affordable housing. Indeed, we were disappointed that Governor Lombardo did not lay out a plan to address skyrocketing rents or the looming eviction crisis that will force many Nevadans to move in with family members or friends, or worse yet, to the streets. Home cannot mean Nevada if you don't have a home. The Nevada way isn't to turn a blind eye to these problems, but to get to work on solving them. Let's talk about education funding. Thanks to the actions of legislative Democrats over the past 4 years, Nevada's economic recovery is well ahead of schedule, and that makes investing in the crucial needs of our state, including public education, easier than ever before. Our kids have the right to a world-class, publicly funded education. That means well-funded public schools, well-paid educators and classrooms, a safe learning environment for both students and educators, and funding programs to get students who have fallen behind back on track, regardless of their zip code. Legislative Democrats have invested record funding in our public schools during the past 2 legislative sessions. This included holding mining corporations accountable to pay their fair share and dedicating that additional revenue to our public schools. We must keep our taxpayer dollars in our public schools. We are pleased to hear that the hard work of legislative Democrats over the past several years has put Governor Lombardo in a position to propose an additional $2 billion to fund public education over the next biennium. We will, however, continue to have grave concerns about proposals that would divert tax dollars from public schools to private institutions. Let's talk about protecting rights and freedoms for all Nevadans. Yesterday, our nation commemorated the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision. Nevada voters have made clear where they stand, fiercely protective of a woman's right to choose abortion. We are disappointed that Governor Lombardo did not detail a plan to continue to protect abortion access in our state, not just for residents, but for those who visit the Silver State as well. As members of the first female majority legislature in the country, Nevada legislative Democrats stand firmly for the rights of women, and we always will. Any attempt to erode these rights in the future is simply unacceptable. Nevada voters also rejected extremist candidates who sought to overturn lawful elections and undermine our very system of government. It is incumbent upon all of us, including Governor Lombardo, to call out lies, misinformation, and disinformation that seeks to undermine our representative government. Thanks in no small part to our former Republican Secretary of State, Barbara Sagafsky, as well as dedicated election officials up and down the state, Nevada has one of the most secure election systems in the country. Nevada has one of the most accessible voting systems too, because we know our democracy works best when it works for everyone. Legislative Democrats will stand firm against any attempt to roll back your freedom to vote, including your freedom to vote by mail. In fact, more than 50% of all voters, that's more than 500,000 Nevadans, chose to vote by mail during the 2022 election, and I was one of them. Voting by mail is convenient and secure, and we are disappointed to hear Governor Lombardo say he wants to make it more difficult for you to exercise your constitutional right to cast a ballot. Our democracy depends on your participation, and legislative Democrats will continue to protect your sacred right to vote. Let's move on to climate. For Home to Me Nevada, not just for us, but for future generations, we must continually reaffirm that we have the right to clean water and clean air, and that public lands stay in public hands. Nevada voters enshrined in our state constitution the transition to a clean energy economy. We are constitutionally required to ensure 50% of our energy comes from renewable sources by 2030 and 100% by 2050. This means that we must build upon the work that legislative Democrats have done to transition to clean and renewable energy, modernizing our power grid, and bringing good-paying jobs in the process. Backtracking on the progress we have made simply is not and will not be an option. We cannot backtrack because Nevada's status as a leader in renewable energy and electric vehicles and infrastructure, such as charging stations, ensures that companies like Tesla continue to make substantial investments in our state's economy and workforce to the benefit of all Nevadans. You have legislative Democrats to thank for that. On to public safety. Gun violence is on the rise in our nation, our state, and our communities. And our thoughts and prayers simply are not enough. Gun violence is now the leading cause of death among American children ages 1 to 19. So it is all the more disappointing that Governor Lombardo did not lay out a plan to prevent or address the devastating impact of gun violence in our communities. Legislative Democrats will continue to pursue common sense solutions that save lives. Democrats agree that having safe neighborhoods and communities to call home is a right. For Home to Me Nevada, we must be safe and protected. So let us agree to provide law enforcement with the resources they need to do their jobs in an increasingly complex world. And let us not fall into the trap of again criminalizing and stigmatizing mental illness and substance use disorders. We agree with the governor. Treating substance abuse and mental and behavioral health issues in jail or prison is not the answer. We all benefit when those who are addicted receive the help they need to turn their lives around. There is redemption in all of us, but we must build the pathway there. Prior to Assembly Bill 236, the Smart on Crime criminal justice measures enacted with strong bipartisan support in 2019, Nevada's criminal justice system was the poster child for an expensive, wasteful, and ineffective government program. In line with Governor Lombardo's statements this evening, Assembly Bill 236 recognized that crime is often the result of poor decisions and circumstances, and that incarceration should be the last resort. We agree with Governor Lombardo that jails and prisons are too often places where we house those we have failed to educate, treat, or otherwise help. The evidence thus far demonstrates that the Smart on Crime legislation passed by legislative Democrats is making us safer, while saving the state money to invest in other critical areas, such as mental health and public education. My fellow Nevadans, we can and we will build upon the progress we've made in all of these areas and many more this legislative session and beyond. The bottom line is that as legislative Democrats, we will always put the protection and expansion of rights for all Nevadans at the forefront of our work, whether that is the right to access affordable health care, or the right to a quality education, or the right to a good paying job. We have built the foundation to expand opportunities for all Nevadans, and we must continue to build upon that work together. If we do that, we will ensure that home means Nevada for generations to come, as it should, as it must, and as it will. Thank you, my fellow Nevadans, and may God bless you, and may God bless the great state of Nevada. Good night.